Today we need to talk about the final kit changes for Cypher and Hyacine in version 3.3 beta. And let me tell you, there's been a lot of movement, especially for Cypher. If you were hyped for her after beta 4, yeah, you might want to sit down. Save up to 25% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description. Let's start with Cypher. And honestly, it's a bit of a roller coaster. Back in beta 4, she looked promising, solid buffs across the board, and it felt like Hoyoverse was building her up to be a meaningful support damage hybrid. But then beta 5 dropped. And it was like someone slammed the brakes. Her ultimate damage halved, literally. It used to deal 240% damage to the main target. Now it's 120%. For adjacent enemies, it went from 120% to just 40%. That's not just a tweak, that's a full step backward. And the nerfs didn't stop there. Her talent's bonus attack cut from 300% to 150% of her attack stat. Eidolon 1 used to give 200% attack, now it's just 80%. Eidolon 6, which gave her some decent true damage potential, got slashed from 48% bonus to 16%. It's like they went through her whole kit with a red pen. So where does she stand now? In her final form, Cypher's skill applies weakness to the main target and 2 nearby enemies. It has a 120% base chance to land, which is solid, and it reduces their damage output by 10%. At the same time, it boosts Cypher's attack by 30% for 2 turns. The skill deals 200% attack to the main target and 100% to the adjacent ones. Her talent is actually pretty interesting. At the start of battle, she marks the enemy with the highest HP using what's called a patron mark. Whenever that marked enemy is attacked by anyone on your team, Cypher follows up with a single attack, 150% of her attack once per turn. It's not flashy, but if timed well, it adds consistent chip damage. Also, 12% of the total damage dealt to the marked enemy gets stored to fuel her ultimate, which is where things get a bit more unique. Now, her ultimate costs 130 energy and first deals regular damage. Again, 120% to the main, 40% to side targets. But here's the twist. It then dishes out true damage based on that stored value. That gets split 37.5% to the main target, 25% to one side, and another 37.5% to the other. The design is clever, but with all the nerfs, the numbers don't quite deliver the punch you'd hope for. If you were hoping Cypher would slide into a hyper carry role, I've got bad news. That's not where she fits. Her main support value now comes from a trace that applies 40% vulnerability to enemies as long as she's on the field. Now, if you're newer to the game or not used to the terms, vulnerability increases the amount of damage enemies take from all sources, so it's universally helpful. But keep in mind, this isn't defense reduction. Vulnerability and defense reduction don't stack in the same way, and Cypher lost her original defense reduction earlier in the beta cycle. That's a pretty big downgrade when you compare her to Pela. Speaking of Pela, remember with her signature light cone, she can shred up to 56% defense. Cypher, even with her own signature, maxes out at 40% vulnerability. So in terms of raw damage boosting for your team, Pela still has the edge. Her light cone, though, is still pretty decent. It gives 24% defense penetration, a good amount of speed, and helps her keep that vulnerability uptime consistent. So if you are going to use Cypher, it's basically required. At the end of the day, Cypher feels like a Pela alternative with a twist. She won't be replacing Jiao Q in Acheron comps. That's already been tested. Jiao Q just brings more consistent support value for that team. But if you want a different flavor of support that adds follow-up pressure and a tiny bit of niche utility, Cypher could still be worth slotting in. Just manage your expectations. Now let's shift gears to Hyacine, because things are a lot smoother there. Her design stayed mostly stable throughout the beta, and she honestly feels like one of the most complete support units we've had in a while. The biggest change was a small tweak to her ultimate cost, down from 150 to 140 energy. That's it. No major nerfs, no whiplash like Cypher. So what does Hyacine actually do? Her skill heals everyone for a small amount, about 800 HP if she has around 8,000 base HP, which is a reasonable stat line to build toward. She also heals her summon Ika for a bit more, and when any ally, except Ika, has reduced HP, Ika will consume 4% of its own HP and restore 2% of Hyacine's max HP plus 20 to that ally, either at the start of their turn or right after they act. Her ultimate is where the fun begins. It heals more significantly and gives all allies a 30% max HP boost, plus an additional flat 600 HP. And that bonus is based on each ally's own HP. So if someone has 10,000 HP, they'll temporarily sit at 13,600. That's a huge boost for HP scaling characters, and not just for your main team. It also applies to memory spirits, and that's where things get really interesting. Her kit supports HP-focused teams on multiple levels. Her talent gives her summon Ika an 80% damage boost for 2 turns every time she heals. That stacks up to 3 times, meaning Ika can gain up to 240% bonus damage. And because one of her traces gives Ika a guaranteed 100% critical rate, that summon hits like a truck. Plus, Ika doesn't use the standard action timeline. He acts right after Hyacine finishes her turn during the ultimate state and deals area damage based on the healing done that round. It's a clean loop: heal, buff, detonate. There's also a hidden bonus. Whenever Ika uses an ability, it reduces the duration of all continuous effects on enemies by 1 turn. It's a small but powerful utility, especially in fights with long-lasting enemy buffs. Let's not forget her signature Light Cone, which feels tailor-made. It raises her base HP, gives her more speed, increases memory spirit damage, and even shaves 1% of HP from all allies at the start of her turn. That last part might sound like a downside, until you remember Blade. It actually helps him trigger his passive more frequently. So it's not a drawback, it's a synergy. And the best part? That self-damage mechanic wasn't removed during beta. So if you're building HP loop teams, that's going to become a key tool. So where does she land in the overall meta? She's not a full healer like Lynx, so don't expect her to hard carry sustain on her own. But in the right comp, especially with Blade, Jinliu, or anyone who scales with max HP, Hyacine becomes insanely valuable. And with some rumors suggesting HP mechanics could be reworked or buffed soon, her value could go way up in future patches. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you still planning to pull for Cypher after all those nerfs? Or are you leaning more toward Hyacine now that her synergy with Blade and HP units is looking so clean? Drop a comment and let me know what team you're building. Save up to 25% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.